Can't hear you, Anne-Marie.
Not sure who you're speaking to, Anne-Marie.
You're on mute.
I thought I'd press the unmute button. Sorry.
Meeting is now live.
When we're moving or seconding a report, how would you like us to do that, Ross?
Just hands up, I think, would be the easiest. Just a thumbs up, rather than going down to your cross facility.
If it's simpler, and if no one's against it, because they can vote against, just maybe it might be easier for yourself and Anne-Marie just to move and receive the reports.
Oh, that could be, yes. Yeah, thanks, Toby, for that. So good morning, councillors. Good morning, staff. Welcome to the Manaaki Toiora August meeting. And I'll ask Mayor Toby Adams to open the meeting with a karakia. Thank you, Toby.
Kia ora. Kia tau te rangimaria, kia whakapapa punamu te moana. Hei huarahi ma tātou e te rangi nei. Araha atu, araha mai, tātou e tata katoa. Tui e, taiki e.
Thank you, Mayor Toby. Just moving through the agenda, apologies. I do believe we will have an apology for lateness from Councillor Daly. Are there no further apologies? I don't believe so. I will move that the apology for lateness for Councillor Daly be accepted. Would someone like to second that?
Councillor Wilkinson as well.
Oh, my apologies. And an apology for non-attendance for Councillor Wilkinson. Thank you, Councillor Milner. Thank you, Sarah, for seconding those apologies. Just moving on, declarations of late items. Any declarations of late items? There are none. Declarations of interest. There are none. Just a slight change, excuse me, and item 7 of the agenda, under which we had a presentation from Glenys Bell from Age Concern, and another presentation from Citizen Advice Bureau from Shelley MacArthur Dye. Neither can be available this morning on Zoom. So what we have suggested we do is pull both of those reports and invite the attendees and the presenters to present at a later meeting. So just be aware of that. So thank you for that, the understanding of that. Moving on to confirmation of minutes, confirmation of the minutes of 29th of June 2021, the Manaaki Toiora Committee meeting minutes. I'd move that they be a true and correct record. Anne-Marie, would you second that, please? Thank you. Anne-Marie, would you like to go through those minutes? Or you were chairing that meeting? Have you got them on your second screen?
You'd like me to go through them?
Please.
Yep. So we will just go through them. If there are any issues, let me know. Page 6, page 7, page 8, and page 9.
Thank you, Anne-Marie. Any comments, any questions? If not, moving on to page 10, the update on development of Manaaki Toiora strategy. Sharon, where are you, Sharon? I'll move that the report be received. Would someone like to second that, please? Thank you, Joe. All those in favour, please say aye. Against, carried. Thank you, Sharon.
Morning, everyone. So what we did is just put together a quick PowerPoint just to facilitate the feedback process on the draft, very draft, Manaaki Toiora strategy. As you will have read, the Councillor Working Party has gone through the initial draft and fed into it, and they wanted your feedback. So I will go through and explain what's on the slide, and then you'll have an opportunity to raise any comments or just or raise your fingers if you want. Right, I will share my screen. And Hopefully you can all see that.
Everyone comfortable with that? We can all see it? Thank you.
Great.
Thanks, Sharon.
So just wanted to start with the scope of the strategy, because at the last workshop, we did have an inclusion of more environmental wellbeing as well. After your comments, what we've done is we've focused it down into the social, cultural and economic wellbeing, recognising that climate change mitigation initiatives are in the Carbon Zero Promise, which was recently adopted by the Council. There's obviously other documents like the Waste Management and Minimisation Plan that deals with some of those other community outcomes. So if you are happy with the scope of the strategy, I will proceed if there's any comments.
Any comments regarding the scope?
No?
No.
Okay. So what we thought was quite important is to really get agreement on what Manaaki Toiora means, and then what you could call it the mission statement is. So Manaaki Toiora means to enhance the wellbeing of our communities, or to lift one's mana in the sense of wellbeing. To have wellbeing, people need a healthy standard of living and quality of life. So healthy standard of living is linked to things like material wellbeing, so housing, appropriate housing, being able to afford food, clothing, etc. So to do that, you need income and appropriate income, you need to be skilled. To have quality of life, so it's more than just GDP or household income figures, it's about inclusion, connectivity to your community, even having participation in decision making, so democracy. So the third point down there, everyone should have the opportunity to access the resources and capabilities they need to achieve their aspirations. This is what came through from the Working Party discussion. So it's recognising that no matter what you do, not everyone is going to achieve their aspirations because there's other factors in play, but we want people to have the opportunity to access the resources and capabilities they need to do this. So lastly, and this is what you could deem as a mission statement, we'll work alongside our communities to take action that positively influences the wellbeing of our people.
Thanks, Sharon. I believe, Philip, you have a question? Turn your mute off, buddy.
Just a point in that second sentence, Sharon, there needs to be a comma after well-being. It reads quite differently without one.
Where are you suggesting, buddy?
In the second paragraph, to have well-being, there needs to be a comma after the well-being,
Oh, okay.
because it reads, yeah, reads a lot better.
Were there any other questions or comments through you, Mr. Chair? No?
No,
Cool.
don't appear to be.
Geez, sorry, I have to be careful with how quickly I move my mouse. Okay, next one. So this is the draft vision statement. Hauraki thriving together. If one of the councillors that was at that meeting wanted to speak to it.
Where's Councillor Spicer? Morning,
I only got the ball rolling. I'm looking at Councillor Joe Tilsley. This was her beautiful work in the end.
Thank you, Councillor Spicer. I think Hauraki thriving together.
Oh, was my apologies.
Yeah, simple, concise, inclusive. We all really agreed that thriving was kind of the key word there, that we wanted our district to thrive in all aspects, and we need to do it together.
Thank you, Councillor Tilsley. My apologies. Any further comment from anyone regarding the vision? I think it encapsulates exactly what we're talking about and the strategy we're going to sign off at the end of the day. Thanks, Sharon.
Okay. So the draft strategy highlights some of the challenges and opportunities that the district is facing in that wellbeing space. Opportunities, location being in the Golden Triangle, population growth. Having an aging population can be framed in different ways, but we're wanting to highlight that actually we want to harness the knowledge of our younger and older generations. Obviously, there are rates affordabilities issues that come into it as well, but we feel like you've talked about that quite a bit in the long-term plan process. Value and cultural diversity, there's an opportunity to do that more. Housing presents an opportunity and a challenge. As you know, we're still a bit cheaper than some of the surrounding cities, but we're not actually as affordable as we were, and we're not necessarily affordable for people that have lived here for a very long time. Primary industry sectors held up through COVID. Visitor spend remains steady. We do have industries looking for skilled labour, so there are employment opportunities at the minute. But as we know through the deprivation indices work, some areas have lower qualifications, low household incomes than across New Zealand when compared to other areas. And then we haven't drilled down into the specific district level stats, but recognising from the statistics across New Zealand that there's high levels of mental distress, anxiety and depressive symptoms, particularly in that 14 to 25 year age group, and then other health issues that are on the rise. Are there any, after reading that draft strategy document, challenges or opportunities that any of the councillors feel we haven't highlighted that should be highlighted? I suppose bearing in mind, we didn't want to reiterate a whole district profile and hundreds and hundreds of statistics.
Thank you, Sharon. Sharon's actually asking a very good question. Is there any other challenges or opportunities that the Working Party have overlooked, given that we've all had the draft document for quite a period of time now to peruse it?
Can I ask a question?
Yes, certainly, Duncan.
How are we going to deal with obesity rates? I mean, to me, that's a sort of a national issue, and one wonders if we should be trying to resolve national issues or issues that are best resolved nationally rather than locally. Just a comment.
I have no answer to that. Has anyone else got a comment to make? Sharon?
Well, I see Councillor Spicer and the Mayor have their hands raised.
Yes. So who was first?
Toby.
Thank you, Toby.
Morning, thanks Ross, and good question, Duncan. So what we've got to remember is that this is a strategy and a document that we work within our district, and it's not everything that we will do on our own as elected members or as a council. That some of the stuff might be that we advocate on behalf of our community. So if we see an issue like obesity being a real problem within our district, then we will advocate on behalf of that group to different agencies and through government processes to make sure that they're getting the best advice and help through that process. So while there might be stuff on here that we can't individually fix on our own, these are things that have come from our community members that are important to them, and they want us to be able to play a part in. So not everything we can fix, but we can certainly play a part to ensure that we're getting the best advice out there to the right people.
Thanks, Toby. Anne-Marie?
As far as challenges and opportunities go, this is a living, working document. So as challenges arise, we can add them to the strategy. If we miss something out now, it's not the end of the world. Or if something comes along, we can contribute it to the strategy. And in terms of obesity rates, I suppose things like supporting Sport Waikato, who encourage physical well-being, is the sort of initiative we can work with, going forward.
Thanks, Anne-Marie. Philip, did you have a comment?
Anne-Marie touched on what I was going to say. It's working with other entities like Sport Waikato is sort of enhances what Toby was talking about. So she covered that well.
Thank you, Philip. I think just an extension of what Anne-Marie has alluded to, that this is a living document, and and given that, as challenges arise, we will find a way to address them. And I think that's important to bear in mind as we work through this presentation from Sharon. Thanks, Sharon.
Okay. So we've looked at hard data, statistics, etc. But then you also went through our place process as part of the long-term plan. So I just threw this up to remind you that you've done this, and this is what the community's aspirations are around those three well-beings: the social, cultural, and economic. So looking after each other, that's clearly linked to being kind, mental health, things like that. Youth are engaged and supported, linked to being skilled, having jobs. There were a few comments about not being bored. Don't know how we can directly help, but maybe we can. Being proud to live here, that was really linked to streetscapes, towns having identities, people being able to feel really proud of their towns or their rural areas. Everyone has access to safe, healthy and affordable homes. That speaks for itself. Local businesses supported. We get what we need locally. There's an opportunity for paid work, employment and training, and we're skilled and educated. I'm not asking for feedback on the wording of this. You've adopted these. I'm just highlighting that these are the community outcomes that the strategy links to more directly. Underpinning that, though, as it's said in the strategy, are the key concepts of, for any of this, you need a healthy environment as the basis, and partnerships. So that is also highlighted in the document, but that cuts across everything.
Any comments on that slide from anyone? Those community aspirations, we've collected those over the last 18 months and leading into the long-term plan. And I really think that exercise certainly gave us the basis to put this together.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I believe Councillor Milner has a...
Oh, has he got his hand up? My apologies. Sorry, Paul.
That's all right. I'm only small over here. Just a question we touched on previous slide about being a living document. It's the way I understand it, we're setting our goals and targets and things, and then we work towards it. We're not going to be changing regularly. So we need to be clear that what we're asking for now, that's it. And then we work to it for a period of time. We can't be chopping and changing. Otherwise, it'll be a bit directionless and we won't achieve a lot.
I understand what you're saying. Toby, you have your hand up.
Yeah, I think the meaning behind the living document is that the priorities might change. I think the aspirations that we've got aren't going to differ from now until the next 10 years, I would imagine. They'll still be prevalent to our community, and COVID's probably only enhancing that, but it may be just that our priorities might shift. And when we mean change, I don't think it's going to change daily or weekly. It'll be that it might be in 12 months' time that we're having more traction with something else that's more pressing than other things, and we might prioritise things differently. So that's where I think Councillor Anne-Marie was talking about, that it's a living, breathing document, that it can change. So not that we intend to chop and change it every 2 minutes.
So the action plan's the living part of it, where you undertake different actions and prioritise, but the actual, what we're doing, that's it. We're setting that in now.
You're correct. The work program will reflect what's absolutely vital at that time. You are correct. Still got your hand up, Toby?
Yeah, I don't disagree with the action plan, but it doesn't mean that this document can't be changing as it needs to change as well, because different things might come into play with government reforms and Three Waters and all that kind of stuff. So it might shift all different ways. So it still needs to be a living, breathing document.
Any other comment regarding that issue? I think it's really, really important to take on board what Mayor Toby has just suggested, that we all know that in the next 2 to 3 years that the face of local body is going to change, and we need to change with that. Moving on. Complete silence. Thanks, Sharon.
All right, thank you. So the strategy sets out what the council will continue to do. So these are things that were highlighted in the previous economic development strategy and social strategy, but are not necessarily seen now as key priority areas because a lot of work has already progressed on it, or it is seen as more a day-to-day actions that council's undertaking. So provide good quality infrastructure and facilities. As I mentioned, you really have to do that. Local Government Act and all. Continue to develop custom-focused processes. This was the rolling out the red carpet, not the red tape. The wording was tweaked a little bit just to push that we're looking at customer-focused processes, not changing rules to suit everyone that wants them changed. Promote the district as a great place to live, work and play. Obviously Destination Coromandel is a big player in this, but the council pushes this through all its comms channels as well. Support local wellbeing initiatives. So this was things like Elephant in the Paddock, It's Not Okay campaigns, funding for local schools if they have initiatives, connecting communities, Better Futures Horaki meetings, connecting businesses with advisors, and then advocating on behalf of our communities. A prime example of that is the Productivity Commission submission that the working parties just looked at. So if there's any comments around that, this also does need to be taken into consideration with the next slide, because if you decide that you want another priority area, there's that discussion around healthy people, then we will tweak the wording, obviously, to reflect that.
Maybe Sharon, you just move to the next slide and we can flop back to this one.
Right, so the proposed priority areas that the working party are looking at, with also the possibility of including healthy people as a priority area, well-housed people, vibrant creative spaces, grow skill and local workforce, and business attraction and supporting local. Now, well-housed people is looking at the United Nations definition of that, so that's outlined in the strategy. It's not just about people being able to purchase homes, it's also about rentals, affordable rental accommodation. Vibrant creative spaces, that is linked to more inclusion of arts, heritage and culture, that town character as we were talking about earlier. Some people refer to it as placemaking. Grow skill and local workforce. This came through with youth being more skilled, having local work employment opportunities around the district, and business attraction and supporting local. This was a key component of the ED strategy previously, and it's seen as still a key priority moving forward. Just to note also, having so affordable housing was mentioned in the ED strategy and the social strategy beforehand. The council saw that it was potentially going to be an issue, but it was a bullet point under a bigger pillar of action. This actually sets it up as, hey, this is actually now a priority area in and of itself that needs more attention and focus. Similar with the vibrant creative spaces, it was recognised in both strategies that we could do more in that space. Again, this is really setting specific focus on it, and grow skill in local workforce. That did not fall out, but it wasn't a priority of the last ED strategy. It was more of that international focus of attracting international or investment, not necessarily international investment, but from around the area, the country. So it's recognising COVID, the community's aspirations around this. So without at this point in time going into the specific bullet points that's in the draft strategy that you've got, feedback on the first instance on the proposed priority areas would be good. Bearing in mind that the next slide is about healthy people, which is what the Working Party were looking at as a potential fifth pillar. So the mental and physical health of people, recognising that there's a lot of service providers already in the district, but maybe the council can work more or focus more in that space.
Thanks, Sharon. Anne-Marie, you've your hand up.
Yeah, I'd love to know what the rest of the councillors think, because I think with the strategy, we're talking about thriving together and having a healthy environment. The 4 proposed priorities in the strategy are all very important, but Manaaki Toiora is all about lifting well-being, and these priorities and all that we do under Manaaki Toiora are challenged if the healthy well-being of our community is not top of mind. So I see that it's something that we continue to do, but I think I'd like to propose that we have one more priority, which is the physical, mental and social well-being of our communities, even though at this stage we're really in a supportive role as far as much of this space goes. And with local government reforms on the horizon, including this in our strategy will also show that we're already well connected with our communities and the support services, and we're invested in this space as a priority. So I'd really like to know what the other councillors think, and if there is a move to include it as a 5th priority or to possibly emphasise it more in the strategy than it currently is. And I'd also like to propose that if we are thinking of doing that, that we don't come up with those words today in this meeting, but that the working party comes up with those words for further consideration. Yeah.
Thank you, Anne-Marie. We'll go, we've got 3 hands up at the moment. Philip, and then Toby, then you, Raymond. Philip.
Thank you, Ross. Look, absolutely, I believe it should be in there as a 5th pillar. Without, and you've touched on it, there's 2 components, mental and physical. Without your health, the others don't seem to matter. So to me, it's number 1. It should be a priority.
Thank you for those comments, Philip. Mayor Toby.
Yeah, thank you, Chair Ross. Yeah, I actually, to be fair, I just added as a 5th pillar. I know there's some controversy around what the future of local government looks like, and there's some angst about what's going to happen with waters and where we go. But I've been thinking about it, and regardless of where this government goes or a future government goes, our community look to us as leaders to be able to help provide solutions, and those solutions might be just advocation, but regardless of which way the local government reforms go, I think this should be a priority that we at least play a link in the chain that helps us. So I just add it as a 5th pillar, and then we can come up with some words behind it at a later date. That's my view.
Thanks, Mayor Toby. Raymond.
Thanks, Chairman Ross. So my only notes that I've taken with it is being safer communities. Where does that fit in with the pillars that we've got there?
Sharon, can you go back to the previous slide for us, please?
So if I can just interject, the vibrant
Thanks.
creative spaces would be, and the well house people would fill those that priority area that you're talking about. Great.
Okay, thank you. That's really one of my concerns, because without that we have a safe community and people feel safe in what they're doing. It's all to do with the healthy people. So thank you.
Thanks for that comment, Raymond. Any further comments around adding a 5th pillar and healthy people? I think it's been covered off really, really well. Thank you, Philip, Toby, Raymond, and Anne-Marie. I think the suggestion is, and I don't know, we'll talk about it at the end of the presentation, but the suggestion has been that the Working Party go back and work on this and actually add it into the strategy. So if we can just move on, no further comments. Thanks, Sharon, if you would like to move on.
Did Councillor Daly have a hand up a moment ago? Disappeared. Just checking.
Sorry, it didn't come up on my screen. It may have come up Paul, but I didn't notice it. My apology. Councillor Daly, have you got something to say? You've got a comment to add into this conversation?
Yes, I have, Ross.
Thank you, Carol.
I agree that we should add this as a fifth post to the others. I totally agree with it.
Thanks, Carol. Thanks for those comments. No further comments around. I just take it that everyone's in agreement and we'll move that forward through the working party. Thanks, councillors.
Through you, Mr. Chair, just a final note then, if you're happy with that, we'll progress that work. As you said, another thing that the working party will look at as a stakeholder engagement plan. So that healthy people's priority area, I imagine Better Futures Hauraki would have comments, feedback on that and how they may see the council's role evolving in that space as well.
Yes. Thank you. So obviously this is the last slide, Sharon. Is it questions, comments, suggestions? Anne-Marie's got her hand up. Thanks, Anne-Marie.
Sharon, I just wanted to thank you for the work that you've done with this. It's looking fantastic. It really is. I think you've really got together everything that we wanted and just done so much better with the words that we gave you. So thank you for all the hard work you've done. I know you've been very busy. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, certainly, Sharon, on behalf of the working party, you along with Rebecca and Katie and the others that have had an input into this, we do appreciate the work that you've done and we look forward to a continuation of your support. So thank you for that.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I will leave you now.
Thanks, Sharon. Enjoy your... Okay, so moving on. Where do we go to? Page 23 on your agendas. Manaaki Toiora Social Initiatives Report, July-August 2021. I will move that the report be received. Would someone like to second that? Just put your hand up. Thanks, Anne-Marie. Katie. Good morning, Katie. Welcome.
Morena. Morena, Mayor, Chair and Councillors. Hope everyone's doing well during lockdown. Take the report as being read, just to highlight a few things going through. Outlined there is our full budget for grants for this year. So this is a first quarter report. Just in new grants awarded, we have a few there. One for the Plains Ward for the Thames Valley Special Olympics for haul hire. Two for the Waihi Ward for haul hire as well to the Salvation Army and the Waihi Heritage Vision. And then last month we granted an $8,000 grant towards Waikino School from the 2020-21 Social Strategy Fund budget towards the Kahuiako Wellbeing School project. So I'm happy to take any questions at the end of the report on any of the grants. For the social initiatives,
just hold a minute, Katie. I think Anne-Marie's got her hand up. Anne-Marie, unmute.
Whoops, I don't. That was me just leaving it up there, sorry.
Oh, my apologies. Sarah Hull, Councillor Hull, have you got your hand up as well?
I thought that passed that the community patrols would get $1,000 and it's not up there.
Just with that one, that was granted from the 2020-21 budget, so it's not.
Okay.
This is the 21 going forward through you.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Post the 30th of June. Thanks, Sarah. Take your hand down, buddy. Good. Thank you, Katie.
Just moving forward through the social and other initiatives, we had a few concerns raised around digital inclusion and skills within our older populations. Probably going to be more of an issue even during COVID. So I just had a quick look through what the community is currently offering. I'll do a little bit more work on this with our community advocacy officer and what is being offered within the Plains, Waihi and Poro communities. So you might be aware the library ran some better digital classes for seniors. Through the library partnership program. I think they plan on running some of those again in the future. They will be working together with community groups such as the Paura Community Support Trust, who outlined in the report have just received some funding for a digital confidence program as well, particularly in relation to online digital banking. Obviously the privacy will be protected for those that are involved in that, but just providing advice. New World and Waihi has had in the past and probably will have again after COVID has cleared up some mobile BNZ services available. This might be a potential to be rolled out over the rest of the community as well. That's something that we can look into. Under other initiatives, yes, the apologies of Glenys and Shelley from Age Concern and Hauraki CAB weren't able to be here, but their reports are attached. Sorry, the CAB report is attached to my report, and the Coromandel Heritage Trust and Age Concern Thames reported last Manaaki Toiora meeting. So I'm happy to take any questions on those at the end of my report to take back to them. In terms of the citizenship ceremony, things are a bit uncertain at the moment. This may potentially be pushed depending on COVID related announcements over the next week and a half or so. So currently it's scheduled for 15th of September. I would say that this would be pushed out. I'm in constant contact with those candidates that we have on our list, and I'll keep you updated on that once I hear from the Department of Internal Affairs. Also, we have our On-Year Awards happening on the 20th of October. The nomination forms have been circulated. I have attached forms and the FAQs to this report. If you know of anyone within your community or any community groups that potentially have someone they could nominate, any schools, please feel free to pass forms along or put in nominations aside from those who are on that special working party. And we will be accepting those until the 31st of this month. As yet, I haven't received any, but we know that a lot of the submissions, the applications come in last minute. And then we also have the Creative Community Scheme arts funding, arts and heritage, culture funding, which has opened on Monday of this week. I've circulated a link to the website page, which has gone live, and that has all of the associated forms. Please feel free to also pass these on to any arts groups or individuals that you know that may have a project in the wings that they would like some funding from. Yes, that's it. I'd take any questions if there are any. Thanks.
Thank you, Katie. Any questions from anyone? Hands up if you have. No hands up? Thank you, Katie, for that report.
Sorry, through you, Mr.
Sorry,
Chair.
Ross.
I think Councillor Broad.
Oh, my apologies. Someone got their hand up? Oh, my apologies, Raymond.
Thanks, Chairman. Katie, can you provide me more information on the digital inclusion, please? I've got a meeting coming up shortly with Provis, and it's a real concern for them, and they want to get it out to their members, and how we can activate that a lot more in the Hauraki Plains for inclusion for them.
Yep, I'd be happy to provide any information.
Thanks, Raymond. Thanks,
Thank you.
Katie. No further questions of Katie?
Yep.
It's fine. Thanks, Katie. Moving on to page, oh, my apologies. We've got quite a way to go through a couple of reports, that presentations that we've taken off the agenda.
Page 70.
Page 70. Thank you, Anne-Marie. Community Advocacy Report, monthly report for July, August 2021. It's in the hands of Colleen. Colleen, come in. I'll move that the report be received. Anne-Marie, thanks, Philip. All those in favour, please say aye. Against, carried.
Aye.
Colleen, good morning. Where are you? Oh, there we are. Good morning, Colleen. Could you unmute, please, buddy?
There we go.
Well
My
done.
apologies.
Good morning.
Right, Morena, everybody, Mayor, Chair and Councillors, I'll take it that this report has been read. Just a quick update, the application for the Housing Acceleration Fund was submitted last Tuesday, the 17th, so that is now, or the EOI, should I say, the expression of interest has now been put in, so we can only but wait until October as per the timeline to find out what the outcome of that and the next stages will be. Everything else has been working on the economic development regional fund with Rebecca, so that's in very early stages, and also looking at the electric vehicle charging station fund that is coming out. The correct wording for that fund is the emissions reduction plan. Sorry, not the emissions reduction plan. Okay, I've not written it down, so that shows that I'm not organised. My apologies. So, but anyway, that fund is possibly looking at October, November, and I believe there will be a further report coming around acceptance of that. So, any questions?
I believe that the terminology you may have been looking for, Colleen, is EECA, Low Emission Transport Fund. Is that the correct?
Yeah, it is. It's actually got a different name. It's
Oh, has it?
Yeah, it had contestable in the wording previously, and it hasn't anymore. So they've taken out the contestable fund, and it's for EV stations right around New Zealand, not just the emissions side of it. So it's quite different. Yeah.
Cool. Thank you. Any questions of Colleen? Hands up. Raymond, good morning. Well done.
Good morning again, Ross. Thanks, Colin, and congratulations on the applications. Also, thank you for that second EOI that's going in for spatial planning and housing. I think that's going to be one of our critical ways to sort out affordable housing if we can look at that going forward. So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Any further comments, questions? Thank you, Colleen.
Okay, you're welcome. Have a lovely day.
Thank you. Page 73. Mayor's Task Force for Jobs July report. I'll move that the report be received. Would someone like to second that? Thank you, Sarah. All those in favour, please say aye. Julie.
Aye. Morning koutou, everyone. Hope you're all safe and well, firstly. I take it that my report has been read, but just wanted to provide a quick update on a few of the items there. So just currently this month in August, we've attained 5 employment outcomes so far. So that's putting us onto a total of 11 since our funding start period of the 1st of July. That includes a couple more apprenticeships. So good to see that they're going really strongly. The Can Do Expo, which was supposed to have been last Thursday in Thames, has been unfortunately cancelled for the 2nd year in a row. And so they are still going to try and merge on with another event next year. But I did sneakily think that that did kind of leave a door open for us to have some sort of event of our own. So also the licensing course scheduled for Waihi has been postponed. And they also had, they're yet to confirm another one, which will be held in Kirapehi. So they're going really well. Really pleased to say that the interviews for our support person have been conducted yesterday, and I think we're just really spoiled for choice. So whoever the final decision goes with, we're going to have a real quality person that's going to bring some great skills to the program. And also a new home for Great Job Hauraki is about to be secured. We're looking at a site just across the road from council. but it's an excellent opportunity for Great Job Hauraki to really increase its visibility and accessibility, and particularly for our youth. We want to create a space that they want to come to. So there is lots happening, although currently there is a feeling that some things are on hold. But I'm really happy to answer any questions if anyone's got questions.
Thank you, Julie. Any questions? Duncan. Unmute yourself, buddy. Duncan, we can't hear you, buddy.
I thought I was, sorry, I thought I was unmuted. I thought I had hit it. Julie, the driver's license commentary there sounds very Maori focused. Is that available to anyone?
It's available to anyone in the community.
Thanks, Julie. Any other questions, Brian?
Yeah, thanks, Chair Ross. Julie, just wondering, and again with the local testing, a 4-month waiting period, is there any way we could look at perhaps combining with others and saying, rather than us going to them, perhaps they could come to us, put a suggestion to them that they have a mobile licensing thing that comes through Waihi once a month, Paro once a month, etc. Something along those lines that means that they come to us rather than us having to go to them. I mean, one of the main reasons that people find it difficult is obviously they can't drive their own car over there. So it's a half a day for mum, dad, caregiver, whoever's taking them over there with a full license. So any chance of putting that forward?
Well, I think it's an amazing idea, Brian, and probably logistically at this stage, it's probably something that wouldn't be on the cards, as I believe that it's actually the testers that there is a shortage of. And so it's really creating people who are capable of doing the testing. I have had a very informal discussion with Mayor Toby just, about the possibility of potentially putting, taking some people across to Hamilton, particularly those who may have a job in the pipeline where a licence is going to make a difference, and shorten that wait down to a couple of weeks.
Yeah, thanks, Julie. It's just one of those things I get feedback from all the time. People saying perhaps people in Thames who have the opportunity to do their licence should move out of town to make it fair, because people from Paro, Waihi, etc., have to go to an out of town town. Maybe they should come to us. A new job there, Julie, for somebody in our area if we're short on them.
Absolutely. Tick a box.
Mayor Toby.
Yeah, so just that is something we've talked about long and hard about, Brian, and I have offered to Julie, if there's people that are in need and struggling with transport to get to somewhere, I'll physically drive a carload somewhere to go and get their license. So I don't mind doing that at all. The trouble with them coming to us is that Paeroa and Waihi are not deemed satisfactory places to be able to do a driver's test. So that's the main reason that they go to Thames. So Thames has got a roundabout, it's got a highway close, it's got merging lanes, it's got all that kind of stuff that ticks all the boxes. So that's why we don't have it. I did have quite a lengthy conversation with one of the examiners or the testers, because there's been a lot of talk about that the people of our area are missing out due to people from Whangarei and all over the place coming. And he said that's not the case. He said it is mainly locals. There's just a lot of people trying to do their license. It's been a big push, so there's obviously a big wait list. And he said there's not this mass of people coming out of the districts to do it. It's just they just don't have the qualified testers to be able to do it. So we're in conversations. Every mayor in New Zealand's frustrated about this, and we're pushing hard with Waka Kotahi or NZTA to look at training up new testers to be able to sort of sort this problem out. But if you know of anybody that is struggling, don't hesitate. We've got the mirror wagon. That's what we can use it for.
Thanks, Toby. Any further questions, comments related to Julie's report? Just from my perspective, Julie, congratulations on the work that you have been doing. 11 new placements in in the new financial year is nothing short of outstanding. And when you start talking about apprenticeships, we're really talking about some really, really valuable employees and employers coming on board, which is fantastic. Now I see 2 hands up. Anne-Marie.
I'm just clapping my hands.
Oh.
What you're saying.
Philip. Supporting what I've just said. Thanks, Philip. Thanks, Anne-Marie. Okay, if there's no further comments, no more further questions of Julie, thank you, Julie. Enjoy your week of lockdown, and thank you for your report. People, it's just gone 10 o'clock, and I know that I really need to walk out of this meeting for a couple of seconds. Does everyone quite happy to take a 5-minute break so we can grab a coffee and whatever else we need to do? There's a lot of thumbs going up. So yeah, if we just adjourn for 5 minutes, grab a coffee, stretch your legs. Thanks, guys.
Can all councillors please hide their videos whilst the meeting is adjourned? Thank you.
I presume we're not live though, Lynn?
Yes, meeting is still live.
Okay. You sure the public don't want to see the bubbling Mia? Smiling. They can watch me, that's fine, I don't mind. Hope everyone out there watching is enjoying what they're seeing. It's always a little bit different to have a council meeting via Zoom. So there's a little bit of a teething problem going on, just getting everyone back used to it. It's been a while since we've had to do this, so apologies if it seems a little bit unorganized, but we'll get better as time goes on. I think it'll be hard for councillors to come back after their short cup of tea break and not jump on the screen, not realising when the meeting is actually going to start. That'll be something that we'll work through going forward.
Thanks, Toby.
So Philip, if you just turn your video off and everybody just wait until the you hear the command from Lynn to video up.
Good morning. Can all councillors please hide their videos whilst the meeting is adjourned? Thank you.
I believe it's 10:15 now. Is everyone ready to start rolling back in?
The meeting is live and being live streamed.
Welcome back, everyone. Thank you for the 5-minute break or the 10-minute break. I assume we're all back in the meeting room. It appears we are. So moving on to page 75, Manaaki Toiora Economic Update Report, July-August 2021. Rebecca, would you mind taking us through your report? Thank you.
Morena Mea, Chair and Councillors. Nice to see you all. I take it that the report has been read, and I'll go briefly through some of the key points of the report. So as you may be aware, Love Hauraki has now been transferred to council. So we are now solely looking after the website and Facebook page. Obviously, Love Hauraki is something that we established during COVID lockdown last year. So we are looking at ways that we can use this once again to support our businesses in this difficult time. Short posts have been added recently, but we are waiting until the ELT approve it as a council page before we continue writing the longer profiles that we were writing previously. In terms of business development, as I've mentioned in my report, there have been a number of small businesses getting in contact with me recently, which has been really nice to hear from them, learning what they've just started or what they are planning on getting going. It's a really good opportunity to share with them what is available in terms of support when they're setting up or wanting to grow their business. So really happy to see that happening. And especially during COVID times, it's really important to have that contact as well. In terms of Te Waka, just a couple of updates there. No additional funding has been announced by government for the Regional Business Partner Program at this stage, but they will keep us up to date if this does become available. The standard capability funding, which is the 50-50 funding, is available as per usual. Te Waka are also going to be running a short business sentiment survey soon with just a few questions around the kind of support that businesses think that they will be needing over the next little while. In terms, I've made a note there about development contributions. It is being raised by a number of businesses that had purchased their land prior to development contributions being reintroduced, and that some of them were unaware of the development contributions policy and how it might relate to their business. So we're just working, well, the service delivery team is working with those businesses at the moment. As the Community Advocacy Officer mentioned, we are working together with the ELT and with Kānoa, who are the Regional Economic Development and Investment Unit, what was the PGF, to sort of just look at what the priorities are for the region and the Hauraki district, and look at what projects could potentially be suitable for an application to the Regional Strategic Partnership Fund. In terms of the Hauraki Rail Trail, you may have seen my mention of the Trail Towns checklist in the report. If you have a free moment, it's an interesting document to have a look through, see what we could do with our towns to make them, to provide cyclists with a better experience, provide them with more things to do. Then we have the Regional Events Fund panel. When I wrote the report, we hadn't received the results from that fund yet, but we have since. So the 2 events in Hauraki that have received funding from this Regional Events Fund are the Historical Maritime Park Christmas Lights. They have received $10,000 towards that event. And the Highland Games and Tattoo have received $20,000 for their event. So that's good to see some Hauraki events getting support from this fund. So in terms of tourism, the Destination Coromandel, through their Strategic Tourism Assets Protection Program, have been running the Gold Heritage Program. The first part of that was a business viability assessment to identify some of the sort of low-hanging fruit, I guess, first of all, to sit. And so the product that has been chosen to be fast-tracked to market is the Karangahaki Gorge walking tour. And the game changer for that project is the Historical Maritime Park. So Destination Coromandel will be working with both of those products quite intensively over the next little while, and they are also working towards having a Gold Heritage marketing promotion as well. Are there any questions?
Any questions of Rebecca? Just a quick question. Can someone help me with the Regional Events Fund that the Pirate Tattoo have received? What was their total budget last year? Can someone, Paul, have you got any idea what their total budget was last year? $20,000.
Somewhere between 80 and 100, I believe, for the full event.
75,000 it was.
There you go.
75, okay. So it's about 30% of that total, or just short 15% of that total. Thank you for that. The other question I had, Rebecca, when are Te Waka next, on our work program, when are Te Waka next scheduled to present to us?
Oh, I'll have to go down and look at the work program. Wait a moment. I'm not sure if they're currently on there. I would have thought we could have a look at and see if September would be possible, because I believe we would have received a report from them.
Yeah, well, it just crossed my mind that it has been some period of time since we have had communication and close contact with them. And it probably wouldn't hurt to put it on the work program. We'll talk about that later in the meeting, perhaps.
And through you, Mr. Chair, one other thing I forgot to mention, and you've probably been made aware of it through the library newsletter and possibly the library's report, but they are now providing Skinny Jump through the Waihi and Ngatea libraries. This was an action that we discussed quite a number of months ago now when we were looking at digital enablement and inclusion. So that's really great to see that happening.
Yes.
In Paeroa, it's provided by the Community Support Trust, Paeroa Support Trust. So it's now available all throughout the district.
Thanks, Rebecca, for that. Brian, you have your hand up?
Beauty. Okay. Hopefully I'm not muted anymore. Yeah, through you, Chair Ross. Rebecca, you mentioned supporting the planning team to understand the need for rezoning. Where are we at with that? Because I think that was the meeting that you came to that night where we had the direct neighbours there and you gave an explanation, is that right?
I didn't attend that meeting, no.
Okay. Where are we at with that? Sorry, with the rezoning for the industrial land. I went to a meeting about 2 or 3 months ago, I'm guessing.
I can answer that, Rebecca or Ross, if that's helpful.
Yeah, that's fine. Totally.
So that's with the District Plan Committee, and they're yet to reconvene. So they looked at parcels of land across that area, and we went back to look at some other options before we start making decisions. So currently that committee hasn't met again. That was scheduled for the next coming weeks to sit down and go through that and see if there's more parcels of land that there may be more people willing to do work with. So nothing set in concrete yet. And then once we make a final decision, that's when that process will go through the consultation period.
Okay, thanks for that update. There was a bit of mail going backwards and forwards from those people. It was good to get a bit of feedback. Also, Rebecca, working with the ELT and potential projects and priority areas to share with Kano, any hints on what those projects might be that you've talked about?
We haven't firmed anything up yet because we have been encouraged to work with our sub-regional partners. So that's Matamata Piako and Thames Coromandel. So we're still having those discussions. Housing, as you could imagine, is something that's being discussed quite heavily. It seems to be something that all areas are looking into. So that's definitely one of those key areas.
Okay, thanks. And just one other question, if I can. At the end there, you talked about the Gold Heritage Business Viability Assessment and the product chosen to be fast-tracked, the Karangaki Gorge Walking Tour. I can understand working with the Historical Maritime Park, but who do we work with the Karangaki Gorge Walking Tour? Is there somebody set up to do that, or are we starting from grassroots?
I believe it is a tourism product of the Waihi Gold Discovery Centre.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Raymond.
Thank you, Chairman. Yeah, Rebecca, just to follow up on the town promotions, there was going to be a special general meeting for PPP this Thursday. I've just received advice that that's now been put on hold and they'll be putting up a new date for the PPP to get reinvigorated and going again on the Hauraki Plains.
Yes, I saw that. Yeah, so it'd be good when that meeting's able to happen.
Thank you, Raymond. Anne-Marie.
Thank you, Chair Ross. Rebecca, just with regional events, the fund panel, were there any event organisers in our district who applied for that funding and were unsuccessful?
Yes, there were. Yeah, but happy to talk about that at another time.
Brian, you've got your hand up again, or?
Yes, I have. Thank you, Chair Ross. Was there anybody else who came forward with these fast tracks and to put their suggestions forward or their thoughts, or were these just hand-picked, the Karangaki Gorge Walking Tour and the Historical Maritime Park? Was there a list that was worked through?
So Councillor Anderson was actually involved in the process, but there was a number of businesses that went through a viability screening process, which was carried out by Diane Drummond, and that looked at a whole number of factors around the business. I don't know if Councillor Anderson wants to give any insight into the process.
Yeah, we Diane Drummond went through a full list of items of all the businesses. There was a few businesses that applied for the funding, and they went through a viability study, and those two came out at the top two. They meet all the markers that were needed to be met. Yeah.
Okay, so it was advertised somewhere. I just didn't see it. Obviously, people heard about it and thought, "Yeah, that's a bit of me. I'll put my business in there."
There were emails sent out directly from Destination Coromandel to tourism businesses, so that's how the information, I think, was mostly put out there.
Okay,
yeah, that's correct. It was. Yeah, quite a few businesses didn't even respond to the emails. So.
Thank you for that, guys. Rebecca, just going backwards to business development, the Pyra Racecourse land, the plan change has been officially lodged. Toby or Peter, have we got any idea of the length of time this process will take?
Through you, Mr. Chair, it could take anything up to maybe around about a 2-year process. At this stage, they're assessing the quality of the information that's being provided, but it may even be quicker than that. But at some point, a report will be coming to council about that.
Thank you, Peter.
Chairman Ross, so the length of time a process takes is always about the quality of a plan, no different than a building application. If all the information's there, then it goes through a far smoother, faster process. So by all accounts, they're using very experienced planners. I would imagine that they might be able to tackle that under the 2-year period. I would think 12 months to 18 months, they should be well along their way.
Hey, Mayor Toby. Any further questions of Rebecca? Thank you for your robust report, Rebecca, once again. If there are no further questions, we can move on to page the Trail Towns checklist. Sorry, Rebecca, have you been coerced into going through that checklist and providing some information?
So at this stage, it's just been provided to us, but we are going to be workshopping that. It was supposed to be in September. Let's see what happens with that. But
okay.
There are a number of interesting factors in there, but I haven't looked at every single one of them at this stage.
I had some spare time just recently and had a cursory look at it. A workshop would be a great idea. It's certainly very, very extensive, put it that way.
It sure is.
Right. Moving on to page 100, Pyro Information Hub Funding Accountability Report. I'll move that the report be received. Would someone like to second that for me, please? Thank you, Sarah. All those in favour, please say aye. Against, carried. Rebecca, can you run us through this, please?
Yes, I take it that this report has also been read. I will just highlight a couple of the main points out of it. As you'll see, there were a total of 19,000 visitors to the Information Hub over the past between January and July. Well, it's a little unsure of whether that's for a full year or for the half year. I'm thinking maybe it is for the full year. Then Michael has highlighted some of the trends, that school holidays and long weekends are the busiest times at the moment, and that event-based events and things like that are creating quite a high demand for accommodation and things like that as well. Obviously, with the current lockdown, those things will have changed somewhat. He has also requested assistance from council in terms of a letter of support for creating a banking hub in the Information Hub in Paeroa. Are there any questions on this report?
Any questions for Rebecca? The comment around the banking hub, I assume that the concept would be similar to what a number of banks have got on their foyers nowadays, that you actually use your card to get in there and you can deposit monies and transaction receiving of floats and those sorts of things. Is that what Michael's talking about, Rebecca, or is it something
I assume so, but it will need to be in collaboration with some of the things that Katie mentioned earlier on.
Yes, yeah. Toby.
Yeah, the banking hubs, the trials that they set up were basically just in-house ATM machines. So the very limited banking needs that you can get. They do have a staff or people there to help, but that's more around the operation of the ATM machine rather than banking needs. So it's not like it'll be a banking hub where people can go in and start cashing their bank checks or talking about loans or all that kind of stuff. It's pretty much just a secure ATM room. The other comment I would make after reading the report for both the information sites, I think that's a figure that we don't get out there to the public enough, the sheer amount of people. When you read 19,000 for Paeroa, whether that's 6 months or 12 months, that's to be determined. But if you read the next report, 34,000 in 6 months, that's those are figures we need to get out there to remind, because we do get a little bit of flack from people saying, why do we still need information centres? And when you see 50,000 people walking through doors, there's still a real need for for a physical space.
Point well made. Any further questions of Rebecca surrounding the Pyro Information Centre? Nothing. So moving on to page 106, once again, Waihi Eyesight Funding Accountability Report. I'll move that the report be received. Would someone like to second that for me, please? Thank you, Councillor Garrett. Once again, Rebecca, in your hands.
I take it that this report has also been read. Sorry, you'll hear that from me a couple more times yet. So some of the interesting things in the report from the Waihi Eyesight is obviously the number of visitors, which the Mayor has just alluded to. Also, they're seeing the key markets of Auckland, Waihi and the Bay of Plenty to continue to provide the most number of visitors, but have also seen quite a number from the Hawke's Bay and Wellington, so that's interesting to hear. Yeah, and yeah, that was most of. Does anyone have any questions on that report?
No hands going up. Thank you, Rebecca. We'll move on to page 113, Positive Pyro Funding Accountability Report. I'll move that the report be received. Would someone like to second that for me? Thank you, Philip. You moved your hand. All those in favour, please say aye. As Rebecca suggested, once again, in your hands.
I would take it that this report has been read. Just a couple of updates from the Positive Pyro Committee. They have noted that they have been in contact with Go Waihi to discuss things such as Santa parades, to share some ideas, and they outline that they are keen to maintain a positive or a cooperative relationship going forward. So that's really good to see. They are also wanting to work with the Lions Club in Pairua to put on the Santa parade this year. So that's really good to see. Are there any questions on this report?
No hands up. Has anyone, apart from receiving the report, Rebecca, have you had any contact with the chair of Positive Pyro recently? I just note here that there has been a number of resignations from the committee. Is that going to impact going forward?
We'll have to wait and see. As they've mentioned, they aren't trying to recruit people necessarily until they have a signed letter of agreement. The draft letter of agreement has been provided to them, so we're just waiting on feedback there. So we are trying to make that happen as soon as possible so that they can continue to look at how they, form up their committee.
Cool, thank you. Actually, just going backwards a step, the letters of agreement with both the Information Centre in Pyro and Waihi, have those letters been signed off yet, or is there still ongoing work?
They've all been signed and completed, so just sort of business as usual there.
Thank you. Cheers. Just moving on, page 119.
Sorry, Ross.
My apologies.
Got my hand up there. Just wanted to support that comment from Rebecca about the Lions Club getting involved with the Santa Parade. That's excellent to see that there's another community group wanting to help with that, and Lions have got a history of doing a good job with those events. And I think it's also important for people to realise there's a need for those volunteers to join that committee in Pyro and in Waihi.
Yes.
There was a lot of support shown for those groups over recent months, so it'd be really good if some people were able to back that up and come on board and help in a voluntary capacity. It's needed. If people have made the comments, so it'd be really good if a few can, it doesn't take a lot, maybe an hour or two a week, and that's all that's required just to assist with the running of those groups. So put the challenge out there to people.
Thank you, Paul, for those comments. No further comments? Page 119, Destination Coromandel Annual Funding Accountability Report. I'll move that the report be received. Would someone like to second that for me, please? Thanks, Anne-Marie. All those in favour, please say aye. Against? Carried. Rebecca, I think this is the last one, is it not for you?
No, one more to go.
One more to go.
So I take it that this report has been read. This report includes some interesting statistics from Destination Coromandel. The first one is around the domestic visitor spend. So for the whole of the Coromandel, that is now sitting at 377 million, which is a 30% increase on previous year. So considering only the domestic visitors, not the international. So that's really good to see that the domestic visitors are going into the Coromandel. And I think as Destination Coromandel have said, there's not actually more people going, it's just people are spending more while they're there, which is really great to see. The total spend in the Hauraki district is 83.39 million, which is a 10.8% increase on the previous comparison period. So that's really positive to see that we did have a dip down for a while, but it does seem that things are improving there. It was interesting to see the success of their campaigns. As they have said, their campaign, I'm assuming they're referring to the Where Kiwis Holiday campaign, generated 23,000 views for 100 packages offered by participating businesses. So that's, and there were 1.8 million page views on the coromandel.com over the year. They also managed, I think Councillor Smeaton has a question. Through you, Mr. Chair.
Yes, certainly.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Rebecca, I see on that table visitor statistics and expenditure on page 123 of our agenda, number of transactions, 2 million or something. How do you separate a transaction from a visitor, say, with a transaction from me in Waihi, for example, just as an example? How do they get that? I'm a bit sort of wary of statistics like that because they seem a bit amazing to me. But anyway, I'm just interested in your comment.
I'm not all knowledgeable of how statistics are created, but I do believe you are registered with your, if you're spending in one area for more often, you're considered a local. And if it's for a shorter period of time, I believe you'd be considered a visitor. So I guess people know that you're spending at the supermarket weekly, you wouldn't be counted as a visitor.
Toby, Mayor Toby.
Yeah, I think it's all about percentages, and it wouldn't be that accurate, but I mean, it's all dollars going into the economy, which is a great thing. So it does make it hard to determine that, but local is New Zealand for us. So we all know that 85% of people that come into our area are from Aotearoa or New Zealand. So put it in that respect, that it's generally from people from New Zealand pumping money into our economy, one way or another.
I think from my perspective, it would be important that the criteria that's used year on year remains the same. So we do get a trend rather than being an exact science.
Yes, sometimes it can be slightly difficult with, we see with Infometrics, for example, they
Yes.
quite often change their method of calculation, but they usually do show back a couple of years as well. So you can compare figures, even if they may be different to what you'd seen the year before.
Yeah. Thanks, Rebecca.
I accept your explanation. Thank you.
There were three explanations given.
And I just had one last point, that they managed to achieve about $400,000 of free media in the past year, which included more than 80 third-party features. So that's really great to see that they're able to attract that kind of media for free.
Yes.
Are there any further questions on the report?
No hands up anywhere? Were you just adjusting your glasses, Councillor Garrett? Well done. No further questions of Rebecca. Moving on to page 128, Historical Maritime Park Report. I'll move that the report be received. Would someone like to second that for me, please? Thank you, Councillor Smeaton. Rebecca.
So the last one from me. I take it that this report has been read. As you will have noticed in the report, the wharf does need some new signage to say it is a wharf, not a jetty. We've been informed that a wharf is what we have in Paeroa, but we did accidentally have jetty on the signage. Also, we just need to recognise PGF as a partner in the project on the signage. So that's being taken care of prior to the opening, which when that happens. The landscaping is currently underway as well at the park. Well, I'm sure it is not right at this moment, but as soon as COVID restrictions are lowered, then they'll be able to continue with the landscaping. Are there any questions about this project or report?
Any questions of Rebecca? Still looking, Rebecca, at a sort of October official opening with PGF?
Yeah, so that will really depend on COVID, but we will start the organisation of that soon.
Cool, thank you. No questions of Rebecca? Couple of hands up. Thank you, Brian.
Yeah, through you, Chair Ross, just a quick question on the jetty versus wharf. What is the difference?
I think one is perpendicular, or going adjacent to the bank, and one is going directly out into the water. So there is a difference, and we've been made aware of that.
Okay, so it's not the facility supplied. In other words, a wharf is a bigger project than a jetty. Okay, thank you.
Councillor Buckthorpe.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a comment, really. I mean, this the Historical Maritime Park's been on our agenda for a long, long time with the funding and whatnot, and it's really nice to see all those completed things in our agenda. It's been a long process, and they really need to be congratulated. They've done a fabulous job, so well done.
They certainly have, and I endorse your comments, Councillor Buckthorpe.
I'll pass it on.
Yeah, certainly. Thanks, Rebecca. Any further comments, any further questions of Rebecca? If not, thank you, Rebecca. The sun's shining out there. Enjoy your day. Moving on, page 135, Manaaki Toiora Committee Work Program. Oh, my apologies, I've just missed Rebecca. Is she still around? I'll move that the report be received. Would someone like to second that for me? Thanks, Anne-Marie. Who's taking us through this? Rebecca and Katie? Thanks, Katie.
That's Katie. Morena again. I take this report as being read. Just highlighting a few changes to the work program 1 to 5 in this report. The Infometrics quarterly update has been postponed as we haven't received the latest report yet. Review of Destination Hauraki 2030 action plan is postponed to October of this year. Just outlining the on-year awards, open dates and closure dates, and the Citizenship Ceremony, which have been discussed this morning already in terms of potential changes to those. And funding accountability reports for Go Waihi and positive promoting the planes haven't yet been received, but Rebecca's discussed the issues around those two promotion organisations this morning already. I'm happy to take any questions on the report.
Thank you, Katie. Any questions? I'm just wondering whether we need to add in the Age Concern report and Citizens Advice Bureau into September. That'll obviously be subject to availabilities and what have you. So
Yeah,
perhaps we add those in. Pardon?
I will add those. I'll update it.
Thank you. And just going back to my question of Rebecca some minutes ago regarding Te Waka, could staff have a look through the action work program and just identify when Te Waka did present last? and maybe try and slot them in over the next couple of months before Christmas if we could.
Will do.
Thank you. Any questions of Rebecca or my apologies, Katie, regarding the work program? Obviously, we will bring back the strategies from the working party once we've completed those as well, which will be an agenda item on its own. So no further questions, no further comments regarding the work program. If not, I do believe that we've completed the agenda. So that will bring the meeting to a close. I do believe that we're all going to stay on and do a bit of a tidy up for tomorrow. So Mayor Toby, would you mind closing the meeting to Karakia? I thank you all for your attendance, and it went reasonably well. I don't think we missed out on any hands up or any comments that people wanted to make. So thank you for your input. It is a difficult meeting to go through an agenda, but good practice for tomorrow. So thank you, Mayor Toby.
Thank you, Chairman Ross. Kia whakaaeria te tapu. Kia wata ai te ara. Kia tūruku whakataha ai. Humi e, hui e, taiki e.
Thank you, Mayor Toby. And thank you. We'll stay on. I assume, Lynn, that we've stopped